The NFL season is here, guys, and we're trying to win our survivor pools with Scratchin and Survivin. All right, we are back for the 2022 season. This is the first installment of Scratchin and Survivin. I am John Statsational Alicia. Those of you who were with us last year, hopefully you came back because you realized the benefits that you were getting from these videos and from the Sharp app. Guys, just quickly, down below, there's a link. You can get the Sharp app. It's absolutely free. You're going to want it if you are betting on sports, interested in sports, certainly with college football coming up. Anyone in any sort of office pool, betting, whatever it is, you're going to find a benefit to having the Sharp app. There's a free version. For those of you who want to get a little bit more sophisticated, we've got models, we've got tools, we've got more premium content on our pro version, and you can get the pro version for free. I've got a code down below. It's going to be 1 month free, and just use Sharp NFL 22. I'll also link it down below, but Sharp NFL 22 will get you the code for 1 free month of the pro version of the Sharp app, and that gets you all our VIP Discord. But even if you just go with the free version, you could get in our Discord as well. You get all of the free benefits of the Sharp app. So I highly recommend you guys downloading it. And as an appreciation, of course, for getting this content, give us a download. All right? We love that. And now, of course, follow and subscribe, because that's going to let you guys know when the Scratchin and Survivin is published. I'm going to try to do them. I think Wednesdays is probably the best days to be posting them. We want to have a chance for the market to play out a little bit, so we'll get a good feel for where everyone's going to be in various pools and different types of pools. We could get some line changes. It's not going to be perfect. Sometimes on a Saturday, you're going to have an injury that we didn't know about on Wednesday. That's why you guys need to be in the Discord. You can ask me questions in the Discord. And of course, guys, that's what the comments down below are for. You guys were great with the comments last year. I expect more of the same, because I can't go over each and every type of pool that you guys are in on these videos, but I can make comments down below. So you guys give me the information from your pool. I'll comment on which direction I would go. All right, we got all that administrative stuff out of the way. Let's jump right into some stuff that you guys need to be looking at for this upcoming year. Now, first things I always talk about in all pools is to read the rules of your pool. It sounds very basic, but a lot of you, probably 25% of you, are not going to read the rules, and then you're not going to realize in week 5, in week 10, in week 15, week 1 that you needed to make double picks. Or you're wondering why people are able to come back in the pool after they lost, and there may be a buy-in, or there may be 2 strikes, and it's not just a 1 strike and you're out type of survivor pool. There's a variety of ways you could play it. Find out if ties win or ties lose. All those sorts of things, so that you don't get caught not knowing something and then maybe making picks based on bad information that you have. So always read all the rules. Ask the person running the pool as many questions as you possibly can. Once you understand the rules, that's going to guide which way you are picking on most weeks, right? So this week 1 may be totally different depending on the rule. If you have to pick multiple picks, we may be looking at this in a different way. So again, guys, comment down below with any of the rules that you guys have, and I'll be able to help you more in the comments than I can more broadly on these videos. All right, so the first thing, understand your rules. I'm going to just put number 2, ask questions. That's going to help you guys quite a bit. Ask questions down below. We can think it through together, and that's going to help you all out. So the second thing you need to do to help win your survivor pool this year is ask questions. Now, the third thing, I'd like to see you guys be in about 2 to 5% of the total entries of your pool. That means a 100-person pool or 100 entries in a pool. I'd love for you guys to have at least 2 to 5%. I know financially that's not always going to be an easy thing for everyone to do, depending on the size of the pool, the amount of money that it costs per entry. I get that. But if you can, try and get yourself in that 2 to 5% range. I am a GPP, Draftkings, Fanduel, DFS type player. I am one of the top players in the world, one of the top 20, and I play strictly GPPs, and I max the 150. There's a reason the pros will max 150 in these games, because they want to get as many lineups as possible, and then they could get diversity, where if you're throwing one bullet at it, it's much harder for you to take some risk, take a player maybe that I'm going to have who's like a 0.5% or 1% owned in a couple of my lineups. That's a guy that you probably won't have. Same thing that's going to happen here. If you have maybe 5 lineups out of 100, that's going to give you a chance with 1 or 2 of those lineups to play it a little bit differently and maybe get yourself off of some teams that other players are going to have and give you maybe a clean path at possibly an early win in a pool as small as 100, right? And then when we're in the 1,000, 10,000 type of entry pool, we want to have the ability to really have a lot of different combinations because those pools are going to survive and last a lot longer than the small pool. We'll get into that strategy in a bit. The other thing I want you guys to do is manage your expectations. Now, you are at a big advantage watching this video over any other video that I've seen, at least on YouTube, or listening to some of the radio shows or watching ESPN. They're not putting the same sort of thought into survivor pools that I do. What you're going to find here on this channel and with me in general is it's not going to be the fundamentals. I'm not going to tell you why I think you should play San Francisco because I think Trey Lance is going to have a good game. That's not what I'm about. What I do here is strictly based on the numbers. We're playing game theory. That's how I play DFS. That's how I've gotten to the level at DFS that I have. It's how I've gotten to the level in sports betting. And I want to teach you guys how you can win these pools. There's an advantage to playing office pools as opposed to betting against the sports books because oftentimes there's a lot less juice. Sometimes the owner of the pool may be only taking a 5% or 10% vig, but you've also got so many people in these pools who are just novices or really don't understand game theory. You have an edge. So watching these videos, if you have, let's say, 2% of the total entries in your pool, we could probably get you to more of a 4% edge, right? So if there were 1,000 people in a pool, you took 20 entries, all things being equal, you have about a 2% chance to win that pool. I think we can take you up to a 3.5 or 4% chance. And over time, that's where you're going to be making your money. That's how the sharps, that's how smart handicappers, that's how the advantage players, as they're called, that's how they make their money. It's over time, over an accumulation. If you've heard about counting cards, blackjack players, they're just taking the advantage the house has from about 1.5% against them up to 1.5% in their favor. It's not a huge edge, but you need to play high volume, and that is when you start to see the benefits. So one season, one survivor pool may not pay you off in that one entry, but over time, we're going to see that if we are taking advantage and we're an advantage player and we're finding where the soft spots are in these pools, over time, over the next 5, 6, 7 years, you're going to find yourself being more profitable. And while these pools are fun, it's always more fun when you can win. So let's try to do that this year. Now, managing your expectations, as I said, if you have let's say you were capable of picking a 7-point favorite each and every week, that's about 73.5% chance of a team winning, right? 7-point favorites win at about that rate, 73, 74% of the time. Let's call it 73.5. If you were capable of picking a 7-point favorite every single week for 10 weeks, do you know what your probability would be to be still standing in week 11? Well, it would be about 4.6%, right? So you're sub 5% just to make it to week 11 on that one entry if you were able to pick a team that was a 7-point favorite each and every week. If you've played survivor pools, you know there's pretty much going to be an impossibility of you getting 7-point favorites for the first 10 weeks of the season. You're going to be mixing in a 4 or 5-point favorite more than likely in there for a week or two. So if we had the best possible situation, we still are looking at a 4 to 5% chance that we are going to advance into week 11. When you're in a larger pool, you will definitely need to get to week 11 at a minimum in order to win that pool. All right, my 5th point here is a 7-point favorite is a 7-point favorite is a 7-point favorite. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is the line is encompassing every piece of information that's available to the public, and it's all built into that 7-point line. Whether the team is on the road, the team is playing a divisional opponent, there is the quarterback is going up against his whole team, the left tackle is injured, whatever you can think of, if it's public knowledge, it's baked into that line. So let's not mess around with the lines, right? Let's not try to outthink the sports books here. They put a line on that is very difficult to beat. If you bet sports, you know how hard it is to beat, especially the NFL, because of the high liquidity. Read a book called Wisdom of the Crowds. You'll understand this a little bit more. But when we have a market with such a large liquidity, the prices become very, very tight and very difficult to beat. Because of that, let's use those prices. They're going to be better than any handicapping that you're going to do. I'm as good a handicapper as you will meet, but I don't try to out handicap the sports books when it comes to pools. I'm going to just use their numbers and then take advantage of players who don't do that. So 7-point favorite, if it's a divisional game, I know a lot of you in survivor pools are going to shy away from a divisional game. You're going to shy away from playing a road team. If you have a 7-point favorite at home and a 7-point favorite on the road, those teams have an equal chance of winning. I know sometimes that's hard to grasp, but they really do. So keep that in mind. Now, if we're in a tie-break situation, everything's equal, and you want to avoid a divisional game, or you want to avoid the team that is on the road, be my guest, go ahead and do that. But also understand, there's game theory involved here. A lot of people think that way. You're going to have an advantage taking the teams in those divisional matchups in those road favorite roles. All right. And on the road, by the way, the home field advantage has dropped dramatically. The reason for that, I'm not going to get totally into it right now. The reason for that is instant replay. Hit me up in Discord or in the comments, and I'll explain more to you why that is. But home field advantage, not quite what it used to be in the NFL and all sports for that matter. Now, when you're in a pool, really important to understand how many other people are in that pool. For one, we want to get that 2 to 5% of all entries we want for ourselves. But two, we're going to play different strategies based on the size of the pool. Now, in small pools, let's take the smallest possible pool you can have. Let's say it's just you and a buddy. How would you play that? Well, if you play it any other way but taking the highest favorite you possibly can each and every week, you're doing it wrong. You just want to take the highest favorite. Don't even think about it. Let your opponent take teams of lesser stature, right? So if you have a team that has a 75% chance of winning, let your opponent pick a 60% chance of winning. Now, it's possible your 75% chance team loses, his 60% chance team wins. Of course, that's possible, but we have that advantage. If we can have that advantage week in, week out, he's going to bust more often earlier than you're going to bust, and that's how we're going to play it. But that's an extreme example, just 2 people in a pool. When you move to 10 people, we're not going to stray from that all that much. As we get to 25 and 50, we're going to expand a little bit. We're going to have to get more into the game theory. You get to 100, right? So we're going to have to look more at future value as we increase the amount of entries in the pool. And certainly as the percentage of your ownership of the pool, meaning how many entries do you have in relation to the rest of the pool. If you had 50 entries out of 100, well, you could play that a little different than if you had 50 entries out of a pool of 100,000, right? So we're going to be more risky. The less likely we are to win the pool, the smaller percentage that we have, of all things being equal, of winning a pool, the more risk we have to take. And by more risk, and I'll show you guys as we go over each week the games that look like we need to take. We'll go over it. We don't take unnecessary risk. We're not taking the 15th best team on the board because we want to be contrarian. We're going to take teams that may be the 4th or 5th choice that other people are not taking, and then that's going to get you in a position where you could potentially pick up a lot of ground on the field, a lot of equity on the field in these pools. So we'll go into those deeper as we go. But remember, small pools, we want a lot less risk. We're going to take basically no risk, in an extremely small pool. And then the larger the pool, the more risk we have to take, the more we have to look out into the future and maybe take risk this week in order to save some teams for the future. That brings me into my 8th point, and that is saving teams, right? Again, it's going to matter greatly on how many people are in your pool, but let's just talk about an average type of pool. I don't like to save teams too much early in the season, right? Because we don't know necessarily who the good teams are and the bad teams. We might know, on the extremes, the Kansas Cities, Tampa, the Rams, Buffalo. Like, we know the upper echelon teams, maybe the top 3 or 4 teams. We know who the top 3 or 4 bottom teams are. Everyone else is in the middle. You get surprised every year, as we all do, by who makes the playoffs, who wins a division, even who makes it to the Super Bowl, out of the bulk of those like 20 teams that all have a shot to really make the playoffs. And you don't know in week 1. We also don't know where the injuries are going to take us. So I hate to leave a team because in week 12, they look like they're going to be the only play to make. So I don't want to take them in week 1 because I want to save them for week 12. I don't like to do that. If I'm saving teams, usually it's only for 2 or 3 weeks at most out into the future. Again, larger pools, I've got to look further out into the future. But for most of you guys, be careful looking too far out and saving teams too far out in the future, because you never know when those injuries are going to pop up, and a lot of other people are going to be saving those teams for that reason. It's going to get you on a different line, potentially a shot to knock a lot of people out in a week where you're going a different way. You're zigging and they're zagging. All right, the ninth thing for you guys is a website called survivorgrid.com. I want you guys to be checking that out before you watch my videos, and then watching on survivorgrid.com along with me. Survivorgrid.com is a fantastic tool for the survivor pools. Now, what it shows you is it's going to tell you on the left-hand side, it's going to tell you the EV percentage, and we'll go into their EV percentage when we start breaking down the teams. But the important stuff for you guys to know is a P percentage and a W percentage. The W percentage is their win percentage based on the lines, and I'll show you guys how to break that down, how I figure out the win percentage. I use the Sharp app, and I go in and look at the money lines for each team. You want to take the midpoint on a money line. So if you're seeing a minus, let's say minus 210 on the favorite and a plus 190 on the dog, I'll look at that as a minus 200 on the favorite, right? That's the midpoint between the two. That's probably closer to where the market is, or the probability in actuality where they're going to win on the percentage basis, how often that team's going to win the game. So at minus 200, the simple math behind that on figuring out the percentage is you would take minus 200, divide that by minus 200 minus 100, or 200 over 300, which is 67%. You can double check that. 67% means you have a 33% chance to lose. That's about 2 to 1. Okay. Any questions, again, down in the comments below. Happy to answer them if you are unfamiliar with that map. But Survivor Grid, check that site out. We'll get into it deeper as the weeks go on. I've also got a spreadsheet that you guys are familiar with that I can manipulate a little bit and see for smaller pools who my spreadsheet likes, and then who the spreadsheet likes for maybe larger pools, and then we can adjust it for how far out into the future we want to look. Not a terribly complicated spreadsheet, but one that I threw together a couple of years ago for survival pools. Definitely helpful, and I think you guys are going to find it useful as well. The 10th thing to help you guys win your survival pools is just watch Scratchin' and Survivin' each and every week. And, of course, comment. This is interactive, guys. I can't read your minds. When you guys have a question, you got to let me know. But watching Scratchin' and Survivin', it's going to be far better for you than anything else any of the participants in your pool are doing, anything that they're reading. I guarantee it, guys. We go into this in a way that a lot of websites, a lot of YouTube channels, ESPN, they are not going to do for you. So we've got the time to do it here. You can follow along in the Sharp app. You can give us a follow here on YouTube and the various social media outlets. But I look forward to bringing you guys the picks each and every week. And I'll be back tomorrow with week 1 and who we should be taking. So good luck, guys. Let's keep on surviving.